Let's look at question 41 to 50 of the 2021 JAMB Mathematics examination. Question 41 says, solve the inequality x plus 4 multiplying x plus 1 is less than or equal to 0. You have option A, option B, option C, and option D. So how do we solve this particular question here? So for question 41, so question number 41, we're given the inequality x plus 4, and then we're given x plus 1 as being less than or equal to 0. The first step we have to do is to identify critical points. So step 1, identify the critical points. And how do you get critical points? Simply take this term in the bracket, which is x plus 4, and equate it to 0. If you do this, you have that x is equal to minus 4. That's the first task. Take the second term in the bracket, which is x plus 1. So you have x plus 1, equate it to 0. And if you solve this, you have that x is equal to minus 1. Just move 1 over here, it becomes minus 1. So we have this. So this is our first task. All right, we want to get critical points by equating the term in the bracket to 0. The next thing we do is that we'll divide the number line into 3 intervals. All right, so divide number line. So divide number line to 3 intervals. The first interval you have there is that x should be less than what you have here, which is minus 4. All right, so take x less than minus 4. The second interval you have is between these two. And what that means is that minus 4 should be less than or equal to x, and also less than or equal to minus 1. That's the second interval. Your third interval would now be x should be greater than this. All right, so take note of the way I'm doing this. First of all, take that x should be less than this, x should be in between these two, and x should be greater than minus 1. So x should be greater than minus 1. So you have this next. What's the next thing you do here? Next thing you do here now is to test each interval. All right, let's test each interval. And how do you test each interval? Let's take the first interval. That's the first interval there, which is this number 1 here, where we said x is less than minus 4, x less than minus 4. So we're going to take a number that is less than minus 4. For this example, let's just pick minus 5. All right. Of course, minus 5 is less than minus 4, because from the number line, you have minus 3, minus 4, minus 5. So minus 5 is lesser than minus 4. Okay. Now, with that said, let's use minus 5. Back to my original function, which is this one here, x plus 4, x plus 1. So when you put, okay, let's call this, so I was having my original function as x plus 4 and then x plus 1. Let's put x as minus 5. All right, pick minus 5 is equal to x. Let's take x as minus 5. So this now becomes, x here becomes minus 5 plus 4. And then this one becomes, x plus 1 becomes minus 5 plus 1. We have this. Let's work on this. What do you have here? This is equal to minus 5 plus 4 is minus 1. And then minus 5 plus 1 is minus 4. Minus 1 times minus 4 is equal to plus 4. And this plus 4 is greater than 0. The condition said that it should be less than or equal to 0. But my answer is greater than 0, which means this does not satisfy, right? Does not satisfy the condition. Does not satisfy the condition. All right. So that's the first thing there. Let's look at the next interval. So for interval 2, all right, interval 2, the second one there, the second interval we chose was minus 4 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 1. So minus 4 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 1. We have this. Let's choose an interval. Let's pick a number that is less than, that is, of course, if they say minus 4 is less than or equal to x, it means that x is greater than or equal to minus 4. We'll pick a number that is greater than or equal to minus 4. At the same time, it should be minus 1. All right, next up, let's pick a number that will fall under this interval. If minus 4 is less than or equal to x, it means that x is greater than or equal to minus 4. At the same time, from here, we'll have that x is less than or equal to minus 1. Let's pick a number that is greater than or equal to minus 4, yet less than or equal to minus 1. So if you look at the number line there, we'll have minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, and then minus 1. A number that is less than minus 1 would be minus 2 and goes this way, but greater than minus 4. So it should go this way like this and then like this. So we are left with minus 3 and minus 2. For this example, let's pick x to be equal to minus 2. Again, we'll put this into this condition here. Let's put it into the condition x plus 4 into x plus 1 and see if it works. And that'll be equal to x is minus 2, becomes minus 2 plus 4, that's x plus 4, into x plus 1. That becomes minus 2 plus 1. And this is equal to minus 2 plus 4 gives you 2, minus 2 plus 1 gives you minus 1. So 2 minus 1, 2 times minus 1 gives you minus 2. And this is less than 0. So it fits the condition, or should say satisfy condition. So this satisfies the condition. So this one works, as you can see. The condition was that it should be less than or equal to 0. And looking at this, we can see that this value is less than 0. So it satisfies the condition. Let's look at the last interval there, which is interval 3. So far, so good. We've done interval 1, interval 2. For interval 3, you have x is greater than minus 1. Okay. So for interval 3, we said x is greater than minus 1. So for this, let's pick out a number that is greater than minus 1. All right. A number greater than minus 1 is 0. So let's pick, of course, there are several numbers greater than minus 1, but let's pick the closest. So pick x equal to 0, because on the number line you have 0 and then you have minus 1 and then you have 1. If you go this way, these are numbers bigger than minus 1. That includes 0, 1, 2, and the rest of them. Okay, let's put x at 0 into the function. All right, the function there was x plus 4, and then you have x plus 1. So if x is 0, it becomes 0 plus 4 and then 0 plus 1. And that's equal to 0 plus 4 is 4, 0 plus 1 is 1, 4 times 1 is 4. This 4, as you can see, is greater than 0 and does not satisfy the condition. Right? Does not satisfy condition. Does not satisfy the condition. So this will not satisfy the condition. So in that case, so the next thing we'll do is include the boundary points. So include boundary points. My boundary points there, looking at what I had, my boundary points here were minus 4 and minus 1. Look at this, minus 4 and minus 1. So let's include them. So let's say at x equal to minus 4. What do I have there? Recall that the function was x plus 4 multiplying x plus 1. Let's put x as minus 4. X becomes minus 4 plus what I have here, plus 4 into x here. X is minus 4 plus 1. Working on this, this is equal to minus 4 plus 4 gives you 0. So that gives you 0 into minus 4 plus 1 gives you minus 3. Okay, so 0 times minus 3 will be equal to 0. And this also satisfies the condition. The condition said it should be less than or equal to 0. So it's actually 0 is actually equal to 0. So we'd say satisfies condition, satisfies condition. Okay. Now let's pick the other boundary point. The other boundary point is at x equal to minus 1. When x is equal to minus 1, we'd have that the function x plus 4 into x plus 1, simply put x as minus 1, will be equal to x here is minus 1, then plus 4, minus 1 plus 4 into x as minus 1, so minus 1, then plus 1. This is equal to minus 4 plus 1 is equal to 3, so that's 3 into minus 1 plus 1 gives you 0, so that's 0, and this is equal to 0. Of course, 0 is equal to 0, right? So it satisfies the equal to this one here. It satisfies. So let's put here satisfies condition. So we have this. All right, so we have this there. That means for this, your final answer, since both of them satisfies condition, the final answer becomes minus 4 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to minus 1. Right, so it has to be within this region. That's how we solve this. So let's see if we have any option as minus 4 less than or equal to x less than or equal to minus 1. The reason why we are including equal is because minus 4, this boundary, satisfies the condition, and also minus 1, this boundary, satisfies the condition. So yeah, that's it. So let's see which option this is. Minus 4 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 1. That is option C. That's the correct answer. All right, question 42. 42 says, two dice are thrown. What is the probability that the sum of the numbers is divisible by 3? A, 1 over 4, B, 1 over 2, C, 2 over 3, D, 1 over 3. So how do we solve this question? So for 42, the first you want to notice that the possible outcome, let's get the possible outcome, right? You have two dice, all right? Each has 6 faces, 6 faces each. Now, the total possible outcome, would be equal to, since you have two dice with 6 faces, it becomes 6 times 6, and that's equal to 36. All right, this is the total possible outcomes. Now they said find the probability that if you toss them, you have a number that is divisible by 3. The question will now be, what are the numbers divisible by 3? All right, the numbers divisible by 3, numbers divisible by 3, those numbers are 3, 6, 9, and 12. When it comes to your combination, right, you have 3, 6, 9, and 12. These are the numbers that are divisible by 3. Now, what we are saying 12 is that I could throw 2 dice to have 3. Example, if I throw 2 in one dice and then 1 in the other dice, I'll have 3. I could throw 2 dice to give you 6. I could throw 2 dice to give you 9, possibly, probably a 5 and a 4 to give you 9. I could throw 2 dice to give you 12. That's if I have 6 and 6, that's 12. All right. There's no way you would throw 2 dice at once and you get 15. So that's why we're not including 15. We'll stop at 12. All right. Okay. Now, having said that, let's proceed with this. So what we'll do is that for each of this, we'll look at the possible sum that can give us each of this. Let's start with 3. For 3, how many combination or what combination can we have to give you 3? Now, for us to have 3, note that you have to throw 1 in the first dice and 2 in the second dice. This will give us 3. Or you could throw 2 in the first dice and 1 in the second dice. This will give us 3. So possible outcome is equal to 2. Let me call this PO, right? Or equal to PO is equal to 2. All right, so there are two ways I could get 3. It's either the first die gives me 1 and the second one gives me 2, or the first one gives me 2 and the second one gives me 1. That will give you 3. Let's look at the next one there, 6. When it comes to 6, how can I throw my dice to get 6? Well, for you to get 6, it's either the first die gives you 1 and the second gives you 5, or the first one gives you 2 and the second gives you 4, or the first die gives you 3 and the second gives you 3, or the first die gives you 4 and the second die gives you 2, or the first die gives you 5 and the second die gives you 1. So these are the possible combinations that I can get 6. What is the possible outcome for this? For 6, I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 possible outcomes for 6. All right. What about 9? Because after 6, the next thing is 9. How many combinations, or how can I combine the dice to give me 9? Well, to get 9 is either I get 3 in the first dice and 6 in the second dice, or I could get 4 in the first dice and 5 in the second dice, or I could get 5 in the first dice and 4 in the second dice, or I could get 6 in the first dice and 3 in the second dice. These are the only possible ways I could get 9. So if you look at PO means possible outcome. I have about 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's only 4 combination that can give me this. So possible outcome is 4. Finally, let's do for 12. All right. So if I have 12, this, what and what can combine to give me 12? Of course, only 6 and 6. Because either the first one is 6 and the second one is what there? 6 there. All right. So it just has to be 6 and 6. So both of them has to be 6. All right. So I have only one possible outcome. So possible outcome is just 1. All right, combine the possible outcomes. This gives you 2 plus 5, that's 7. 7 plus 4, that's 11. 11 plus 1, that is 12. So possible outcomes, possible outcome, that's PO, is equal to, let me call it sum. The sum of the possible outcome is equal to 12. Remember probability of getting a 3 will be equal to, if you look at this, how many combinations can give you 3? The answer is 12. So it becomes 12 all over the total number of combinations. My total outcome, we had this as what? 36. So this all over 36, right? That will be equal to 3 here, or 12 here, 1, 12 here, 3. That becomes 1 all over 3. So 1 over 3 is the correct answer. Right? I think this one here, instead of calling this possible outcome, we could call this required outcome. So RO, required outcome, required outcome, required outcome. So these are the required outcome that will give us 3, 6, 9, and 12. All right. So this becomes the sum of required outcomes instead, but it's the same thing anyways. All right. This becomes the sum of, let's call this required outcome. All right, sum of required outcome, that's sigma RO, so that your formula becomes probability P of getting a number divisible by 3. So P divisible by 3 will be equal to required outcome all over, so this all over the possible outcome. So possible outcome. The required outcome is now equal to what I have here. That's the sum there, which is 12. So 12 all over the possible outcome. It's what is the possible combination? That's total outcome, which is 36. So basically, it's the same thing. So this all over 36. That will still give you 1 over 3. All right, it's the same thing. But I just had to re-emphasize, just in case of a presentation, you'd better present it this way instead. All right, so you call this one the required outcome and you call the total outcome as the possible outcome. That's how to present this information. but then you have the same answer as 1 over 3. All right. So let's see which of them is 1 over 3. That is option D. So option D is 1 over 3. All right. Question 43. 43 says the pie chart depicts the budgetary allocation of a family. If the total budget is 177,000, how much was allocated to feeding? How much? Now, the first will be, if you look at this, there's a 90 degree here. Look at this part here. It's a 90 degree. Look at it here. It's kind of faint, but it's there. But we do not have an angle for feeding. This angle here, we don't have it. Let's call it X. All right. So how do we solve this question? Our first task will be to find the value of X. Okay. And how do we find the value of X? Of course, this is sum of angles at a point. And we know that sum of angles at a point is equal to 360 degrees. That means this angle here, X, plus this one here, 90, plus this one here, 80, plus this here, 70, is equal to 360 degrees. So let's get that done. It means that we have X plus 90 degrees plus 80 degrees plus 70 degrees. It's equal to 360 degrees. All right. We have X. You do 90 degrees plus 80 degrees. 90 degrees plus 80 degrees, that gives you 170 degrees, plus 70 degrees, that gives you 240 degrees. All right. So plus 240 is equal to 360 degrees. To get X, move this one over here. All right. So X will be equal to 360 degrees minus 240 degrees. And of course, X will be equal to 120 degrees. So first things first, let's get the value of X as 120 degrees. Now, how do we get how much was allocated to the feeding as asked in the question? Now, to get the amount allocated to the feeding, all we have to do is that we'll take this angle here, which we've gotten as 120. All right, we have this angle here as 120 degrees. So it becomes 120 degrees all over the total angle, which is 360, times the total budget or allocation, which is 177,000. Of course, this cancels this 1, and this cancels this 3. So it becomes 177,000 divided by 3. And if you do this, your answer becomes 59,000. So I'll have 59,000 naira as your answer. Right? You could punch this. This is simply 1 times 177,000, and that will give you 177,000 divided by 3. You have 59,000. So the correct answer here is B, 59,000. So that's your answer. Let's look at question 44. If n is equal to p over 2 into t1 minus t2 all over t1, find p when n is equal to 12, t is 27. I think this should be t1. t1 is 27. t2 is 24. A, 48. B, 108. C, 54. D, 216. All right, so how do we solve this question? So for 44, we're given that n is equal to p over 2 into t1 minus t2 all over t1. We're given this. We are asked to find the value of p. Now, the first thing we have to do is let's make p to be subject of the formula. And how do we do that? So first things first, we can open the brackets here. N will be equal to p times numerator gives you p into t1 minus t2 all over 2 times t1 gives you 2t1. At this point, we can cross multiply. This is over 1, and that's equal to, or this would give you p times this gives you p into t1 minus t2 is equal to, next up you have n multiplying this. So n times 2t1, n times 2t1. If we work on this will give you p into t1 minus t2 is equal to n times 2t1 gives you 2nt1. To get the value of p, I will divide here by t1 minus t2. Divide here by t1 minus t2. We have this. This will cancel this. So you have p as equal to 2 times n. 2 times n. So let's just find the value for n. From the question here, n is 12, t1 is 27, and t2 is 24. All right, n is 12. So 2 times n gives you 2 times 12 into t1. t1 is 27. So this into t1, 27, into t1 gives you 27 minus t2 gives you, we're giving t2 here as 24. So this into 24, and that's equal to, let's multiply numerator. If you multiply numerator, what do you get? For numerator, you have 2 times 12 times 27. So let's see what we get there. 2 times 12 times 27, that's 648 all over. For denominator, you have 27 minus 24. That's about 3. You have 3. Let's divide this. 648 over 3. That's 216. So your value here is 216. So all you have to do is make P to be subject of the formula, then impute the value of n, t1, and t2, and you get 216. Let's see which option is 216 here. From this, that is option D, 216. So that's your correct answer. Next up, 45. 45 says if 9 to power 2x minus 1 divides or is divided by 27 to power x plus 1 is equal to 1, find the value of x. A, 8, B, 3, C, 2, D, 5. So how do we solve this question? Let's copy the question down first, 45. So for 45, we have 9 to power x minus 1. Let's see, 2x minus 1. So 9 to power 2x minus 1 is being divided by 27 to power x plus 1, x plus 1, and this is equal to, they said it's equal to, let's see, 1. So it's equal to 1. So this is equal to 1. All right, let me take this one off. So I'll take this off from our previous example. Take this off. All right, so take this one off too. So how do we solve this question? For this question here, this is equal to, if you look at what I have here, this can be expressed in terms of power 3. This can also be expressed in terms of power 3. And 9 is simply equal to 3 to power 2. That gives you 9. So 9 is 3 to power 2. Then include what I have here, which is 2x minus 1 all over 27 is simply 3 to power 3. Then include what I have here, that's x plus 1. This will be equal to 1. Working on this will be equal to, let's work with numerator. I have 3 here, so this is 3. This 2 multiplies all of this here. All right, so 2 times 2x gives you 4x. 2 times minus 1 gives you minus 2 all over. I have 3 here. 3 times x gives you 3x. 3 times plus 1 gives you plus 3. So you have this, and you equate this to what I have here, which is 1. Equate this to 1, you have this. All right, so at this point, what next? You're now having both numerator and denominator in the same base 3 and base 3. And we know that when the same base are dividing, what do? You subtract their powers. So it becomes base 3, subtract the power of the numerator, which is 4x minus 2. This minus the power of the denominator, 3x plus 3. So you have this. and equate this to what? 1. From here, this will be equal to 3 into 4x minus 2 minus to 3x gives you minus 3x minus to plus 3 gives you minus 3. This is equal to 1. Working on this is equal to, you have 3. This becomes 4x minus 3x, and that gives you x minus 2 minus 3. That gives you minus 5. So x minus 5 is equal to 1. The next thing we want to do here is that we want to express 1 in terms of 3, right? And that becomes 3 to the power x minus 5 is equal to 1 is 3 to the power 0. All right, 3 to the power 0 gives you 1. From here, this will cancel this. So you have x minus 5 is equal to 0. How do you get the value of x? Move minus 5 over here. So you have that x is equal to, minus 5 comes over here, becomes plus 5. So you have x as plus 5. So your answer to that question is plus 5. Let's see if we have any option there as plus 5. Yes, we do. That is D. So the correct answer here is D, plus 5. All right, let's look at question number 46, the next question. 46 says, if y is equal to 2x cubed plus 6x squared plus 4x plus 1, find the y dx. So how do you find the y dx here? You have option A, B, C, and D. Let's find the y dx. So 46 here, for question number 46, we have that y is equal to 2x cubed plus 6x squared, 2x cubed plus 6x squared plus 6x plus 1 plus 6x plus 1. Let's find the value of dy dx. From here, we'll have that dy all over dx, and this is actually under differentiation. And to find the y dx, let me move this a bit back. To find the y over dx, we'll have that dy dx is equal to, multiply this number here, that's 3, would multiply everything you have here, which is 2x, subtract 1 from the power, that becomes 3 minus 1. All right, that's how we handle this. Plus, repeat the process. The power here is 2, so 2 multiplies what we have here, and that's 6x squared, subtract 1. All right, that's how we handle this. Plus, for this, the power here is 1. The power here is 1. So let's repeat that. That becomes 1 times what I have here, 6x, subtract 1 from the power. That becomes 1 minus 1. And then finally, plus this one here, you have a 1 here. This one does not have any x attached to it. So it becomes 0 times what you have there. All right, we're using 0 because there is no x attached to it. Let's solve this. This is equal to 3 times 2 gives you 6. X to the power 3 minus 1 is 2. Plus 2 times 6 is 12. Then x to the power 2 minus 1 is 1. Plus 1 times 6 is 6. X to the power 1 minus 1 is 0. Plus 0 times 1 is 0. Working on this, this is equal to 6x squared plus 12, x to the power 1 is x, plus 6 into power, x to the power 0 is 1. 6 times 1 is 6, then plus 0. So I have this. So basically, this is my answer. All right. 6x squared plus 12x plus 6. Let's see. 6x squared plus 12x plus 6. That is option D. All right. So option D is the correct answer. Now you want to take note that this question here is under differentiation, and we've treated differentiation in a complete playlist. All right, so go to playlist, go to differentiation, you will see the step-by-step classes or video tutorials on this. All right, next up, 47. 47 says the sum of four numbers is 1214 base 5. What is the average expressed in base 5? A, 401, B, 114, C, 411, D, 141. So how do we solve this question? Let's solve question 47. So for question 47, the number given there is 1, 2, 1, 4. This to base 5. The first thing we have to do to solve this question is to convert this from base 5 back to base 10. And how do we do that? The first number here is 1, so it becomes 1 times the given base is 5, so it becomes 1 times 5, plus the next number there is 2, so it becomes 2 times the given base 5, plus the next number there again is 1, so we have 1 times 5, plus the next number there is 4, 4 times 5. Now, when you're done with this, for the fives, we'll start with the one at the extreme right. This will be to power 0. We keep increasing it. The next 5 to power 1, the next 5 to power 2, the next 5 to power 3. So we have this. So this is how you increase the powers, right? Starting from the one at the extreme right hand, to the one at the extreme left. 0, 1, 2, 3. If there's another one there, you put 4, just like that. So this will now be equal to, we have 1 times 5 to the power 3 gives you 125. That's simply 5 times 5 times 5. That's 125, plus 2 times 5 squared is simply 5 times 5, which is 25, plus 1 times 5 to the power 1 is 5, plus finally you have this one here. That's 4 times 5 to the power 0 is 1. So we have this. Now proceeding, this is equal to 1 times 125 gives you 125, plus 2 times 25 gives you 50, plus 1 times 5 gives you 5, plus 4 times 1, that gives you 4. So we have this. All right, let's sum this. This is equal to, if you punch 25 plus 50 plus 5 plus 4, your answer there would be 184. All right, so this is 184. That is the actual number. And when we look at real numbers are always in base 10. So this is the same thing as me saying 184 to base 10. It's the same thing. All right. Okay. For this particular question, we are asked to find the average of the four numbers. So four numbers. All right. You have to find the average of the four numbers back to base 5. All right. So how do we do that? How do we get the average of the four numbers? What we have to do is very simple. We'll divide this value by 4. So after converting to your normal base, that's base 10, divide it by 4 to get the average of the four numbers. So divide this by 4. And if you do 184 divided by 4, you have this as 46. So you have this as 46. This 46, note that is in base 10. All right. And we are asked to find the average in base 5. So what do? We'll have 46, right? We'll convert 46 back to base 5. And how do we do that? So this is 46. If I divide this by 5, now 46 divided by 5, you have 9, which is 45, remainder 1. 9 divided by 5, you have 1, which will give you 5. Of course, 1 times 5 is 5. So 9 minus 5, that gives you 4. So the remainder there is 4. And of course, for this, take 5 here. This is 0, remainder 1. You take the numbers from the bottom upwards, and that becomes, from the bottom, we have 1, 4, 1. So hence, the average is 141. So 1, 4, 1 in base 5. So my answer is 141 base 5. So let's see if you have that option there. Yep, that's D. So the correct answer there is D, 141. All right, question 48. 48 says X varies directly as the product of U and V and inversely as their sum. If X equal 3 when U equal to 3 and V equal to 1, what is the value of X if U equal to 3 and V equal to 3? All right, let's solve this. So this is under variation. All right, this is actually under variation. Let's see how we solve this question. By the way, option A, 9, B, 4, C, 6, D, 3. So how do you solve this question? 48, they said X varies directly as the product of U and V. So X varies directly as the product of U and V. So it becomes U times V, which is UV. You now said, and inversely, that becomes denominator. And inversely as their sum. So their sum becomes, you add them up. So all over, add them up, U plus V. That's their sum. You have this. All right, so said if x is, okay, before we use this one here, let's get a constant. For constants here, you have that x is equal to, let's call the constant k, so it becomes k. Of course, to take out the proportionality sign, put an equal to and include a k. So equal to k into what I have here, which is u plus v, u or uv all over u plus v. So we have this. Proceeding with this, what we have here is that we'll have that x is equal to k multiplies uv becomes k uv all over what you have down here, which is u plus v. So we have this. From here, we'll have that if I cross multiply, this is all over 1. So k times kuv times 1 gives you kuv is equal to x times this gives you x into u plus v when you cross multiply. That means the value of k, the constant, is to divide this and divide this. Divide this by uv, divide this by uv. This will cancel this. So that means the constant k is equal to x into u plus v all over uv. Let's impute values. For the first scenario, they said 48, they said if x equal to 3, when u equal to 3 and v is 1. So x3, u3, v1. So x here is 3, so it becomes 3. They said u is 3, 3 plus, they said v is 1, so 1 all over u times v becomes 3 times 1, 3 times 1. From here, let's get k. So k is equal to, we have 3 into 3 plus 1 is 4 all over denominator 3 times 1 is 3. This will be equal to 3 cancels 3. We'll have that k is equal to 4. We've gotten a constant k as equal to 4. Now, if you've gotten constant at k, let's look at the next set of values. For the next set of values, they said, what is the value of x if u is equal to 3 and v equal to 3? All right. We know that x, the value of x is equal to k into x is equal to k into uv all over u plus v. As you can see here. So they said, what's the value of x is if u is equal to 3 and v equal to 3? That will be equal to, what's k? We got k as 4, so that becomes 4. 4 into uv becomes 3 times 3. They said when u is 3 and v is 3, so 3 times 3 is u times v. U plus v becomes 3 plus, u plus v becomes 3 plus 3. And if you work on that, this is equal to 4 into, multiply numerator, 3 times 3 is 9 all over 3 plus 3 is 6. So we have this. That means x is equal to, let's multiply this. From here, 2 cancels this. That gives you 2. 2 divided by 6 gives you 3. From here, 3 divides itself 1. 3 divided 9 gives you 3. So my answer becomes 2 times 3, which is equal to 6. So the value of x when u is 3 and v is 3 is equal to 6. Let's see which option matches that. So that is option C, 6. All right, next up, question 49. 49 says, if the endpoints of the side of a square RSTU are R coordinates -1, -1, and S 3, -1, find the area of the square. A 20, B 12, C 16, D 39. Now, how do we solve this question? The first thing you want to note is that this is a square. And for a square, all the sides are equal. Now, they did not give you the exact value of the length of the side. No, they did not give you that. Instead, they gave you the coordinates as the coordinate for R and the coordinate for S. Right? They gave you these coordinates. So what do? We'll use these coordinates to find the length between the 2 points. All right. There's a formula to get the length of 2 points. So if you're given coordinates, how do we find the length of points given the coordinates? For 49, the formula to find the length of a line given the coordinates is simply the square root of, to have the square root of, it's simply x2 minus x1, this all squared, plus y2 minus y1, this all squared. All right. This is the formula to get the coordinates. And if you're given r as -1 and -1, that's -1 comma -1, this is simply equal to x1 and y1 coordinates. Also, you're given s, the coordinate of s as 3 and -1. So let's get the coordinates. For this, it's equal to x2 and y2. That's it. So let's use the formula. The distance between the points will be equal to the square root of x2 minus x1. So x2 is 3. So it becomes 3 minus x1. x1 is -1. So 3 minus -1 all squared plus y2 is this one here, -1 plus or minus, or y2 minus y1. So it becomes minus y1 is this, that becomes -1. This all squared. So I'll have this. All right. Working on this, what do we have here? This will be equal to the square root. So this square root of 3 into -1 is +1 all squared plus, this is -1 minus -1 is +1 here all squared. We have this. Proceeding with this, this is equal to the square root of 3 plus 1 gives you 4 all squared plus -1 plus 1 gives you 0, and that becomes 0 squared. This is equal to the square root of 4 squared is 16 plus 0 squared is 0. That becomes the square root of 16, and square root of 16 is equal to what there? 4. That means the length of the side is 4. Now, since the side is a square, something of this, all right, let me do a proper thing there. Now, since the side is a square, let's say this, you've just gotten the length of one side as 4. You're asked to find the area of the square. Area of a square is equal to length times length. Since all sides will be equal, so it becomes 4, everywhere will be 4 because it's a square. So area becomes 4 times 4, and that's equal to 16. All right. So the answer is 16. So let's see which option gives us 16. This is 49. 16 is option C. So option C is the correct answer. Finally, question 50. Question 50 says, in how many ways can a student select 2 subjects from 5 subjects? Well, this is actually combination, right? You have to select 2 subjects from a possible 5 subjects. So in how many ways can that be done? The total number of subjects available is 5. Combination, you're selecting 2, so it becomes 5 combination 2. All right. What is 5 combination 2 in mathematical form? 5 combination 2 is simply 5 factorial, this all over this minus this. That is simply 5 minus 2 factorial, and then repeat this one here. That becomes 2 factorial. All right. So this is how you do combination. If I proceed with this, this will be equal to 5 factor. This becomes 5 factorial all over 5 minus 2 gives you 3 factorial and then 2 factorial. This is equal to, don't forget that 5 factorial can still be expressed as 5 times 4 times 3 factorial all over, denominator you have 3 factorial times 2 factorial. From here, 3 factorial cancels 3 factorial is off. We're left with 5 times 4 in numerator, so 5 times 4 all over 2 factorial here is same thing as 2 times 1. And that's equal to 5 times 4 gives you 20, all over 2 times 1 gives you 2. So 20 over 2, that is equal to 10. So the answer to this question is 10. Okay. Oh, we're not asked to solve. We asked to just provide the answer. Oh, provide this in factorial form. All right. In factorial form, that will be 5 factorial all over 3 factorial, 2 factorial, just as you have here. So let's see, 5 factorial all over 3 factorial, 2 factorial. Same thing as this one here. 5 factorial all over 2 factorial, 3 factorial. This and this are the same thing. So that means for this question here, the correct answer is A. So A is the correct answer. But just in case you want to know how it's done, this is how you solve it, all right? Don't forget that we are still on our JAMB examination revision series where we are revising JAMB past questions on physics, JAMB chemistry, JAMB mathematics, as well as JAMB biology, all right? So if you're interested in revising any of these JAMB examination subjects, do well to hit the like button, all right? Like this video, also subscribe to this channel, and then hit the bell icon, select all, so that you get notified whenever we upload a new video. Okay? Okay, guys. So please take note that we have a JAMB WhatsApp group for 2026 JAMB Bites. All right. So if you're writing JAMB for 2026, we have a JAMB WhatsApp group where we do daily revisions on physics, chemistry, mathematics, and biology. So if you're a science student and you want to join our JAMB WhatsApp group, I'll leave a link to the JAMB WhatsApp group in the video description. All right. You can also join our JAMB channel membership to get access to exclusive content for JAMB Bites, or you can get the full JAMB course on our website. Simply visit www.jonahimmanuel.com/courses and you see the JAMB/WAEC classes. All right. Okay, guys. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. All right. Like this video. Also leave a comment. Right, for the comments, I gave you a task, question number 11. Solve it, leave your answer in the comment section, and I'll tell you if you're correct or not. Don't forget to also subscribe. If it's your first time here or you're yet to subscribe, please do what to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and select all so that you get notified whenever we upload a new content. Then finally, ensure to share this video to your friends and their colleagues so that they can also learn. Thank you and see you in our next class.